It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And welcome to the podcast where me, the Captain, talks about movies, TV, sports, flicks, anything you can see on the tuber screen. I like to get in here and give my unique perspective because after 46 years of being on planet Earth, I've developed a new perspective about these movies, TV, sports, and flicks. Let's get here and tell you about it. Because just maybe you care. In accord to the stats, it looks like you do care. I want to give a big shout out to Montenegro. Got some plays for Montenegro this past week. Gracias, gratitude, Toraba, in Montenegro. I saw those national parks got over there. They look absolutely beautiful, breathtaking, gorgeous. One of these days, I'm going to have to fly over to Montenegro and just relax and chill in those beautiful national parks. Looks so gorgeous. So many thanks for listening. Gracias, gratitude. And just FYI, back there with School to Be Radio DJ. But I never got a job. I think I never got a job because I just didn't have the passion. If I would have had the passion to become a radio DJ, I probably would have did it. But I didn't. And it allowed me to become the greatest podcaster in the Matrix. Some to debate might be true, might not be true. But I said it on the internet. So it's gotta be true, right? Because everything on the internet is facts, not facts, true, false, propaganda, fake news, the Matrix, words, language, signs, symbols, posters. I don't know. I didn't make the internet. Ask the people that made the internet. So when you're online, just be aware to watch out. And it was a good rambler out there, but it won't. Let's get right into the podcast. But first, a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, if I was going to ask you, what number are you? I think your answer might be 1. I think you might say 1. You might say, I'm number 1. Because I'll be honest, someone asked me that question, I'm probably going to say, I'm number 1. Because I like to think I'm number 1. And you probably like to think you're number 1 too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you think you're number 1, like I think I'm number 1, we got a shirt for you over at the Existing Fictions as a store that says number 1. You know, like William T. Riker from Star Trek The Next Generation, number 1, be number 1. Well, if you think you're number 1, check out the shirt over at the Existing Fictions as a store. I will put the link below, and you can get a shirt that says number 1. So check out the link now. Let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back again. But before I get in the podcast, let me get serious real quick. Be very serious. I tell you guys a lot that I'm from the Midwest. I tell you guys that I'm from the state of Michigan. Okay, I've said that many times on the podcast. You probably heard by now, in the last week, there's a terrible act of violence out at MSU campus, which is like right around where I live. I live in that area. I'm very close to where that area is at. And I've spent a lot of time on campus over the years, many times over my 46 years, been out there. And for just to hear what that happened out there, my thoughts and prayers with the whole community. You know what happened out there, because it's a horrible thing. Now, violence is horrible anywhere, of course, but it just being in my backyard just makes it that much more realer. You know, it's a very bad thing. I wish I could just like snap my fingers and this kind of thing would just stop. It'd be over with, man. Size get a little crazy. It just get a little wild. Just some days, it's like I look around. I'm like, man, it just. Oh man, like what are we living in now, right? It's just so crazy. So I just wanted to just say my thoughts and prayers are with the whole community about that. I said because like I said, I'm from here, I'm raised here. This podcast is created from the experience I've had growing up in the area, and that the MSU community was a big impact on my life coming up as a young person. I just want to send my thoughts and prayers to everybody. Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. So I'm going to just give a quick moment of silence to those we lost this past week. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. I know it's been a rough week. It's tough. Very tough. But I got to keep podcasting. Got to keep doing it. Before I get into this week's podcast, one quick thing. One of the things I'm trying to achieve with this podcast, if anyone that listens to this podcast, whoever it is, wherever you are on planet Earth, on the globe, one of the things I hope would happen from listening to these podcasts, or any art I do in general, whether it's my music or podcast, is that hopefully it would help you to make a better choice, right? If by any of the words or ideas, anything I've presented on these podcasts over the years, or these songs, has helped you make a better choice in life, a better life choice, to stop, to pause, to think before you take action, to ponder, to think, is this the right course of action? Should I be doing this? Is this the right thing to do? Like, if these thoughts go through your head, if I've helped you think about these things before you move forward by hearing what I talk about, this is kind of one of the goals. My goals is to, like I say, to expand minds, to expand the mind, all that, right? But also to get us to make better choices, to be better human beings as well. This is one of the goals of the podcast ongoing for probably the last 4 years. When I first started, I just did it just kind of do it. But as it evolved, it got some mission statements, some goals, and this is one of the goals. Make better choices, be better human beings, right? Think about things, think about our actions, all this kind of thing. This is the goal of this podcast. So in doing this, if I've helped facilitate any kind of deeper thoughts, so we just can make better choices in life, whatever they may be, I feel we're winning here. So anyways, let me get on what to talk about this week. This week, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one thing I could talk about this week. It was just one thing. There's only one thing the captain could talk about this week. And if you paid attention to entertainment news in the last 2 weeks, you know what it is. There's only one. There's only one thing I could talk about. Just uno. Only one. You know what it is, right? I've told everybody on planet Earth. I've told people in real life. I've told people on the internet. Anyone that would listen, I told people about what I'm about to talk about. I said, bro, this is my most favorite thing in the world. You'd be like, what is it, Captain? What is your most favorite thing in the world? You know what it is. If you listen to this, you know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My most favorite thing in the world is the one and only Star Trek. That's right. I've told everybody I talk to at some point in time. If you talk to me long enough, eventually you will know that my favorite thing on planet Earth is Star Trek. It's real. Just talk to me long enough, whether it's digitally or in person. If we know each other long enough, you will know that I love Star Trek. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if we're the best of friends. Doesn't matter if we're associates. You will know if you talk to me long enough that I love Star Trek. I've said it multiple times in this podcast. I've had multiple conversations with human beings in real life, friends, family, colleagues, whatever. What comes out is I love Star Trek, right? They all know it. I've told them over and over again. It's true. This is a true story too. I'm not ashamed of it. I love Star Trek. But anyways, I watched Star Trek this week. But it just wasn't any Star Trek. It wasn't just any Star Trek. It was my most favorite character in the Star Trek universe. You'd be like, Captain, who is your most favorite character in the Star Trek universe? My most favorite character in the Star Trek universe is the one and only Jean-Luc Picard. And let me give you a little inside baseball. The name of this podcast is called the Captain Talks Flicks Podcast, right? You know why it's called the Captain Talks Flicks Podcast? You know why I'm called the Captain? I'm called the Captain because I named this podcast after the one and only greatest captain in the universe, Jean-Luc Picard. This is why this podcast is called the Captain Talks Flicks Podcast. And this is why I'm called the Captain. It is after Jean-Luc Picard. Facts. I've told everybody on planet Earth, they'll listen. This is why the podcast is called that. I've talked about it multiple times on this podcast, but if you haven't heard those other podcasts, this is the reason. This guy right here, Jean-Luc Picard, is the reason for this podcast. It is the reason I am called the Captain. That is it. That's the real, true reason. I won't deny it, tell the truth. I'm not ashamed of it. It is facts. So anyways, this week, I watched Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 1, titled The Next Generation. Of course it was called The Next Generation. What else would you have called it? It was the most fitting title for a show they could have had, The Next Generation. You say, what's so special about Season 3, Episode 1, The Next Generation? Why call it that? Wait, real quick. Before I get into this episode, let me just say this. There will be spoilers. And also, I do own some shares of the parent company Star Trek, just to let you know that one be clear and transparent. So now that I told you that, let me get right into Picard, Season 3, Episode, The Next Generation. So anyways, why do they call it The Next Generation? Because there's an epic team up. An epic reunion, an epic team up. Of who? Who you ask? Of course, Jean-Luc Picard. But also, the one, the only, number one, William T. Riker. William T. Riker and Jean-Luc Picard off on another mission. Another mission. They're older now, a little bit older. You know, different positions. Still friends. Know each other for a long time. And they're on another mission. They're going out another time. We got to go on some more missions. Another mission. Another thing's got to happen. Another mystery be solved. Another task to be completed. They go on the mission. What is this mission, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. Jean-Luc Picard got an encrypted message on his comm badge. Not his new comm badge, his comm badge from like 20 years ago. He's got his comm badge just sitting in storage somewhere, it's sitting someplace, and he got an encrypted message on that comm badge. Like, wow. Who would send Captain Picard an encrypted message on a comm badge from like 20 years ago? Who would do that? You might ask that, like, who would have done that? It was the one and only Beverly Crusher. Yes, Beverly Crusher sent an emergency message to Jean-Luc Picard through subspace on encrypted because something's going down. Now, that's something going down we do not yet know. But you know who's going to find out? Jean-Luc Picard. And number one, they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. They're going to meet up. Well, they did meet up with Beverly Crusher. And unfortunately, Beverly Crusher was kind of hurt. She's kind of injured. She needs some help. But, you know, Picard and William T. Riker, they're going to figure it out. And that's basically what happened in episode 1. Episode 1, Picard gets the message, encrypted message from Beverly Crusher. He teams up with William Riker, and they go try to meet up with Beverly Crusher, and they find her, and she's hurt. And that's where they left it off. Fantastic episode. Now, there's a whole bunch more details going on in the episode besides that, but this is the gist of it, and it was fantastic. And one other thing I want to talk about. Guess what other elements are involved? Okay, I just talked about this recently. I said, what would happen if you took Star Trek, and you combine them with the intelligence world, right? You take Star Trek and you combine them with the intelligence, because you know I love spy games, you know I love intelligence, you know I love spy, the world's second oldest profession, you know I love Star Trek. What happens when you put them together? I was like, what would happen? Well, guess what? In Star Trek Picard, The Next Generation, guess who was dabbling in Starfleet intelligence? Raffi. Raffi is part of Starfleet intelligence. So now we got a little side story with Starfleet intelligence, little spy games, little espionage, right? This season shall deliver. I asked for spies in Star Trek, and we got it. I didn't think it was going to come in the package of Jean-Luc Picard. I thought we'd have to wait till Section 31 show, but we're getting it a little bit early. We getting a little intelligence operations with a little Starfleet, little Star Trek together. Ooh, I'm so excited. I was very happy. You know how I love all that spy stuff. And now Raffi's playing in that sandbox. Ooh, a little bit of Starfleet intelligence. Let me get my black badge out. Because, it's about that time. A little bit of intelligence operations. Some futuristic dead drops. Futuristic chicken feed, right? SDRs in a spaceship. Can you do an SDR in a spaceship? You probably can. I know you can do an SDR in a car. Can you do it in a spaceship? They'll figure out how to do it. So yeah, I can't wait to see what goes down with Picard and Riker. You know, what they figure out, and what's going on with Raffi with this whole Starfleet intelligence, right? And also while Raffi was doing her Starfleet intelligence thing, there was a pretty major attack on a Starfleet institution that was very tragic. And let me tell you this, when I saw that depicted on the screen, I'll be honest, like because of what happened in the area here in my home state, you know, that's going down. The feelings are there because of that. So it's a lot of feelings because of that. And then seeing that on the screen of the attack on the Starfleet, like I was very, very emotional. I just felt that more. I know it's fictional, I know it's fake, and I know it's not real, but something about the feelings we have this week, or I have this week, and seeing that it just hit that much harder. Like it just hit so hard. So yeah, so this season is going to be very interesting. I can't wait to see where they go with this. How is this all going to connect? It's so cool. I got so excited when I saw Starfleet intelligence. I just, I mean, if you've listened to these podcasts as well, you know how much I love spy stuff, spy stories, spy things. It's very awesome. And just to see a pretty prominent part of the story right from the jump is Starfleet intelligence. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Let's take this ride. I cannot wait. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about this week. Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 1, The Next Generation. I can't wait to see what happens next. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about. And until next time, we'll see. I'm building a fire, and every day I train, I add more fuel. At just the right moment, I light the match. Mia Hamm. Until next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks Flicks.